All right. So, straight into lesson 6 of the Maggio Advanced Warm Up series. This is called Definite Attacks. And on the screen it says, Sonny, play them like a string of pearls, according to Louis Maggio. There are three little points at the beginning of lesson 6, and it says, proceed this with with warm up C. So that kind of follows on with everything else. Observe syllables and pronunciations. Take nose breath whenever needed. So this is quite long because we're going down into our lower pedal register at the very beginning. And we end up back down there as well. So just to go over what I played there, we do our descending C arpeggio, then we're up 2 octaves, then we actually slur up. So that's a little bit like the lesson 2, where we do that chromatic slur, and then we come down the next chromatic interval from D flat all the way down to pedal D flat, and that's the way this lesson progresses until we get to F and F sharp, where we reiterate the pedal C motif, and we carry on from there until another break point in the lesson. So just to go over these, obviously proceed with warm up C. Hopefully you've watched that already. That's on the channel. Observe syllables and pronunciations. So you have a look at this at the end of the video, where I'll put the PDF up, certainly of each of the relevant sections where the actual lesson slightly changes. Now, the way it's written, it says ta at the beginning, and we have a descending C arpeggio. It doesn't say whether that's slurred or tongued. I am tonguing it just now because the lesson's called Different Attacks, so we're learning to use our syllable attacks as we're starting to play a trumpet. A lot of the work we've done just now has been through a lot of slurred practice and not much actual articulation. So it may very well be, not found otherwise, that lesson 6 is supposed to be slurred all the way. But the fact that at the top of the arpeggio we slur up a semitone, which is going to take us into the next phase, I think the initial section and the descending triplet chromatic run as well should be tongued. And this has helped us really, really focus on our tonguing down in the bottom register as well. So that ta-ta-ta with a lower tonguing pedal articulation and our open throat. Now I played that all the way through from the beginning to the end, just about ran out of air at the bottom note. So the third point it says is taking nose breath wherever needed. And I think that's a good idea, certainly until we don't need it. Once we get above our pedal C motif, we don't need as much air as when we're playing higher. So if you're going to take a nose breath, take it where you need it, not just for the sake of it. And in a comfortable place, it's going to help you get to the end of the lesson. So for me, ensuring we get the semitone slur, which is going to help just move us up throughout the range. That's a nice wee place just to take a breath, because we're not disturbing anything in terms of the support mechanism that we're trying to put in place. And then we can carry on a fuller breath all the way down to our lower note. So I'm going to do the same one again. Take a nose breath after that slurred C to D flat. There I can finish on a much fuller lower pedal note. So I'm going to continue on with that for a couple more, just to get into the flavour of the exercise. So this is D to D sharp. So, obviously taking a little bit more time going through the exercise. There is no indication of tempo or strict time at all. Certainly in this exercise, as we go into some of the other exercises in the advanced section, there are suggested tempo markings. I would say the different attacks one, ensuring that you are cleanly tonguing through our pedal register and whatever register we're in is the most important part of this. So moving on to the next section, we just pretty much jump onto our, once we've done our F, up to our F sharp. So F sharp would be our normal descending arpeggio. We reiterate the Maggio pedal C motif moving into F sharp. So we'll do that one now. So this is F sharp to G effectively. So there, you can quite easily see that I didn't need to take the extra nose breath after the slurred semitone motif. Don't know if you can hear this, but there's some woodwork going on outside. I do apologise. I'll try and edit it out. And we pretty much stay with this all the way up until we get to our top C register where we have a little change. So I'll just finish off there. And this one, which is essentially B onto C, we're going through our full range. So we're actually going through three octaves here when you count in the pedal C motif, all the way up to our top C. So we're going through ta, te, ti, and ch. And what we're trying to try and make sure is that when we're coming back down from our top C, that we are tonguing and reiterating our syllable all the way down to our C. And that was one of my biggest problems for a long time, and I still actually have to make sure that I am adhering to some good relaxed procedures, because what I used to have the problem was, particularly if it was a moving line in a section or a solo line or whatever, coming down from a higher register, I would either undershoot and lower pitch than I had to, or I wouldn't relax enough. So when I would be coming down from a higher register to a mid or low register, I would either be playing sharp or I'd be over pitching the lower note. So when I do this exercise, I like to try and make sure that I am taking time over coming down and being clean with the articulations. So this is B to C and then all the way back down to our bottom C. So again, no real concern about having to be really, really strict with time or tempo, but I would say just being really, really strict more than anything with articulation. So something else that I want to comment on is like when I do take a breath, I have always filled up quite a lot like this, and I want to try and make sure that when we take breaths in, we don't start and play up here all the way. I want to make sure that when we take a breath in, no matter how big it is, we always kind of come back to a relaxed position, and this is going to help maintain a nice relaxed feeling through the throat. And I feel that having that nice relaxed position and carrying that relaxed area into the throat helps me address the compression that I need for the upper register. Now I'm talking about essentially compression in this area down here. For me, it's kind of down here. And this support is there from my lowest note to my highest note. Now as I start to ascend into the higher upper registers, the compression's moving all the way through the system, right from down here all the way into the face. Never want the tension into your arms or into your shoulders. So trying to make sure that we have a nice relaxed breath from our lowest note to highest note is very, very, very important. So this is obviously covered earlier on in the Maggio technique in itself. But even when we're playing this pedal motif down to our pedal C, I'm breathing in on a little bit of support here. That gives the air something to just sit against to come back out. If you always think about the air just flowing in and then flowing out, that's really what we want to do. When we get up into our higher range of the instrument, all we're trying to do is focus that air and speed it up in a way that hopefully should be nice and musical when it comes out the trumpet after going through our embouchure. So where we just finished in lesson 6 on the top C, it asks us to take the system study suggest we take a 5-minute break. So I think I've talked for about 5 minutes, but we also have another little change in that instead of having a descending chromatic phrase on triplets over 2 octaves, we just drop the 1 octave. So where I went from the top C all the way down to our bottom C, the D flat will just come down to the D flat on the middle register. Excuse me. Everything else remains the same. So I'll do a couple of these and then we'll jump forward a little bit. So D flat to D. And this is going to be D to D sharp. So they're having a nice free-flowing supply of air supply from the nose breath from the pedal C, but not disturbing the embouchure. Just ensures that all the way up and all the way back down, the embouchure is staying the same. Okay, we're not disturbing anything there. What we're trying to manage is just how fast this air speeds up and slows down in this case as well when we're descending from the top. Okay, so we're going to jump forward to the end of this little section, which is our G. So that will be obviously our pedal C motif, and then 2 octaves ascending from our F sharp up to our G, and then the G finishes back in the middle of the stave. Sorry, top of the stave. Let's do that again. Oh, dearie me. Don't think about the sawing going on outside. Think about the lesson. Okay, here we go. Way cleaner, cool. Okay, and just taking a little bit more time. Part of the reason for messing that previous one up was just not thinking about the line I was playing, making sure my fingers were doing what they were supposed to be told, and just relaxing through the sound. Even though we're tonguing through this sound, we're not trying to do. There's a nice flow of sound all the way through. The more we interrupt an airstream, the more we have to start an airstream. We never really want to put that undue stress on our body, essentially, unless it's musically written to have like staccato notes, and even then you can carry a degree of the compression through. So that's that first section there. There's no break suggested whatsoever, but instead of doing the last part where we do the descending triplet run over semiquavers, we just do the 2 octave arpeggio now, and we slur up a semitone. So I've got a wee disclaimer, and it's also kind of, I don't know, an excuse card maybe. I've already done this lesson, but I forgot to press record on the microphones. So I've already been through this. It's actually twice that I've been through it. This is the third time. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, so it's pedal C motif, 2 octaves, and we go from the G up to the G sharp. And remember, take your time when we get up there, and in Maggio's own words, it's not, well, not his own words, I'm paraphrasing, it's not about the top note, it's about getting to that extreme range, that edge of our range, the limits of our range, and it's everything else underneath it that really, really should sound lovely and everything. So again, it's like if my top note that I'm going to get is a B flat, underneath that I'm hoping my G and G sharp on a gig situation are going to be there. So this is G to G sharp. We'll see what happens. Don't forget about that excuse. Oh, did I get lucky? Right, so also try and remember to keep your hands and everything else nice and loose when you're up there, and let the air supply that's managed by your syllable and whatever compression you're setting up here, whatever happens here, try and let the note happen rather than fight it to happen. So this is G sharp to A. Oh, right, okay. A little bit squirrely there. But not bad. I mean, like the E flat and the C below it, that was okay. The G sharp was all right. It was okay. For me, just trying to think about a nice flow all the way through is really, really, really important. If I hang about too long on one of the lower notes, start to lose a lot of that momentum. It's like holding your breath, I suppose, when you're trying to prepare for a note to play, that you really want the air in and out. So managing how that compression is dealt with, or I don't know what else you could call it, as opposed to compression, you could call it the energy, I suppose. Yes, another way to talk about it. Right, so A to B flat. Oh, almost just kind of died a wee bit there at the end. But I did kind of come. So let's carry on and see what happens. We'll just go to the end here. So this is a B flat to B. Not sure, not sure. Okay, so I'm aware that I'm starting to feel a little bit tired from the previous versions of this video today. So I suppose one thing we should always try and make sure is that we're not overworking. I'm not doing really any more playing today anyway, so I'm not massively concerned. But trying to make sure that you're always playing within your limits and not walking away from a practice session destroyed is quite important too. Okay, so this is B to C. Okay. I don't think I'm going to get away with that. So let's call that quits there in terms of lesson 6. And that is lesson 6. It stopped there. Stops there after that. When I first started doing this lesson, the hardest part, certainly in the initial few stages, was trying to tie the full line together from starting in the C, pedal C, C, D flat, and then all the way back down. Taking that little nose breath will really, really make a difference. It's not long after that you should be able to do the full line in one go. And I think trying to take your time, or ensuring that you take your time when you're descending through those chromatic runs, and ensuring that you're getting a clean tongue on all of those notes when they're coming down. is really, really the point of this lesson. We're learning to, I suppose, in the most musical sense so far, tongue clearly through a line as we're transitioning through ranges. So I was going to say a little bit. I'm not sure how it's going to come out because I'm pretty wrecked now. No, I'm not pretty wrecked. Just doing some high playing about the cleanliness of attacks when we start to get up into the lead register. So the lead register, I suppose most of us think about as like an E, an F, or a D. And practicing these attacks up there um, is it's quite an important thing. It's not any less important than practicing a clean attack in the middle register. So a nice C. You know, just having the note come out. When we get into our upper register, this is where I think a lot of lessons can be learned by listening to the nicest, best lead players that you can think of. You know, it's almost like a kind of classical representation of how to play high notes. So the same thing in a top C. Wait, see, this will split it. Where you're not really hammering the note. Now, if you think about trying to relate the work that we've just done here and the tsh, etc., but try and keep the throat open, then when you start to play stylistically things that are more leady orientated, then that can really, really come through in the musicality of it. So staying in that register, but maybe going up to an F. So maybe something like a line like okay. So taking that up the octave without that much style, let's do that classically orientated or a little bit cleaner to classical. Practicing that line in the lead register and trying to think about our attacks and our tongue position. Start clean. So yeah, not very pizzazzy, not a lot of style on there. But then we can play the notes in that clean fashion. All you have to do is change the style of it. Clean. Not really doing anything different rather than just changing the shape of the notes. Maybe just putting a little bit more weight on the phrase in terms of how the air is. But learning these different attacks, like we're just starting to work on in lesson 6, is really going to translate into our playing. So I hope you really enjoyed that. That is my just about third version of this lesson today. And I hope you don't mind all the joinery that's going on outside. So that's it. Lesson C's up. Sorry, warm up C's up. Warm up D's is just about to go up as well. This is lesson 6. We'll get the rest of the stuff up there soon. All comments, advice, very, very welcome. Keep it clean as always. And I've just put a tiny, tiny wee live video up that didn't go great, about 100 subscribers. Past that already now. Thank you everyone for subscribing and watching the channel. Loving the comments as well that come in. Also come and visit me on Facebook. I can respond a lot faster and quicker on there if you want. And yeah, that's it, guys and gals. Stay safe, stay smart, try and practice as best you can, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon. Cheers now, bye bye.